So I am Cynthia, and I'm the host of the reality series CPS the Horror Stories. I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but I am a mom who lost her children to CPS, and after fighting for 2 years, I did get them back. So, Rachel, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Rachel Thompson. I have 4 children. 3 are not with my current. One is. I have a monster-in-law, and that is the cause of all of my problems. So I am 28 years old. I've had my first child when I was 19, and she was stillborn. And then I've had
Oh my gosh.
3 girls since her, and then a son just this past year. So ever since I've had my oldest daughter, she's 8, my monster-in-law has called children and youth like nonstop. My ex-husband and I had split up, and she like destroyed my house. I had to leave because the police wanted him to be able to get his belongings. So I left. She destroyed my house, took pictures, contacted CPS, and had said my house was like filthy, which it wasn't. It was clean. So of course they come, and they've been here ever since. So 8 years of phone calls that have been unfounded. They've been here so much that they've just called them nuisance calls. They've looked at my kids, they've taken pictures, and they've closed it. And I've let them in every time. I've cooperated with them every time. I've never once said, like, look, you can't come in my house. They've seen my kids at school. They've done everything that they've asked of me. I've cooperated, done everything, like seriously done everything. She's been trying to get my kids taken away from me since they were born. But of course, all the calls are anonymous, and they can't tell you who it is because you can retaliate. So I've been literally, I'm not dumb, I know who it is, that kind of thing. Like once it's so many phone calls, you end up knowing who it is. And they will sit there and say, well, I can't tell you who it is, but if you feel that's who it is, well, you just know who it is. So my fiance and I have been together for 3 years. We have a baby boy that was born on May 6th of 2019. She absolutely hates him. My monster-in-law does. The girl's father is out of the picture. Like, he literally doesn't have time for them. So he has been raising them for the past 3 years. She doesn't like him. She feels like, I should be with the girl's father. So throughout 8 years, I've had CPS involved literally every week for 8 years. I mean, if one case is closed and they don't call her, she'll call again. If they don't contact her and say, like, we took the kids, they're safe, they're here, she'll call CPS. She's done it for 8 years. Like, I've never in my life, like, had COS involved so much. So because of COVID, like, the kids were out of school, I decided to homeschool because I could do online schooling. And then this year I had decided to homeschool because of COVID, also because my kids were home and my kids were safe. Nobody could go to the school and like take my kids away. Like, my kids were with me. So it was this last summer, so May, my monster-in-law had made phone calls stating that my fiance and I were on drugs. We both, they came, told us that we both had agreed to drug tests. Both of us had passed. So then she had gotten no communication back from CPS, so she contacted them again. She had said, I never knew, like, that she would be like this to me. I've always thought that a grandparent's relationship with their grandkids is like extremely important. If the father doesn't want to have time, the grandparents can. I've always believed firmly in that. The girl's dad is absent most of the time. Like, once every 2 months does he pop up. So for the girl's birthday, it was the end of April. It was my youngest daughter's birthday. I had let them go for 5 days to her house. And between 8 years of CPS phone calls, you know, she called, she asked, I'm like, fine, you know, you can take them. Like, she obviously can't get my kids taken away, right? So why not? So I let them go because their relationship's important, despite what she's trying to do to hurt me. It's not their fault. So they went, they were gone for 5 days. They did stuff because it was my youngest birthday. They went out, did things together. The girls had called me the night before they were supposed to come home and had said, are you okay, mommy? And I said, yeah, why, what's up? Like, are you okay? And they said, well, grandma was asking me if you were on things and if you were doing drugs. And she said, I think something's wrong with you. I said, no, I'm okay. They were scared. They wanted to come home. So I said, well, I'll come get you. I went and got my kids. I messaged her later that evening and I said, like, why are you questioning my children? Like, if you have questions like that to ask me, you know. And she goes, well, are the girls being spanked? And I said, no, my kids are not abused. I put that in writing, and I said they have guidelines and rules that they have to follow. If they don't, they'll sit in timeout. Like, any mother has rules for their children. I don't think I'm the only person that has rules for my children.
It's crazy how that was something, I apologize for interrupting you, but that was something that I got in trouble for too.
Yeah.
I also got in trouble for allowing my daughter to cook. I'm like, she's passionate about it.
Cooking?
Yeah.
How old is she?
She started cooking at like 4. Not like with the heat, but I bought her this set of like plastic, you know, things, and she loves being in the kitchen. And they said I was parentifying her, and that they said that I made her cook all of our meals and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, see, I think like CPS, like, they take your kids to be sexually molested. Like, that's how I feel. Like, a lot of kids in foster care are sexually molested or abused or physically, mentally. Like, you're taking these kids out of good homes to be put in shitty homes. Like, I don't believe in it. And honest to God, I've been on CYS's side this whole time. Like, I have never thought a bad thing about them. I did get one caseworker before they took my children. There's been the same person calling for 8 years, and I don't have harassment charges. It's not harassment. It's not this. It's not that. Like, after so many phone calls and they're unfounded, like, it's harassment here. Not, I guess not. So, like, she's literally ruined my life. I got my kids back, but thank God, because it was the longest time of my life. But I had this CYS couple. They've always been so amazing to me, and I will talk to them to this day. Now, tell me there's not communication between CYS and their workers. Like, there has to be. If you're having a case and you're transferring a case, that everybody communicates. Well, I had this caseworker, and I was literally, what's that?
I said supposed to communicate.
Yeah. Well, I had this caseworker. It was a female. She was new. Well, then she disappeared. She's still there, but she wasn't taking my case. So I got this man. And I told my fiance, I said, CYS is here, so stay at the store. Like, I was to the point of, I'm done talking to them. This was just over nonsense calls. This isn't even the call that took my kids away from me. So I told them they're here. Like, I'm not answering the door. I was watching TV with my kids. I told them I was taking a nap. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I don't want to answer my door, I don't have to.
Right.
This CYS worker knocked on my bedroom windows, knocked on my front house windows, was like banging on the other door windows. Like, it was horrible. This guy pulled in. Like, my kids were in my bedroom at the end of my bed watching a movie with me. Like, I knew where they were. They went out to the kitchen to make ice cream, put ice cream in a bowl. The guy seen them. So one of my friends pulled in, and the CYS worker went to them and said, I know she's here. Her kids were just outside. Mind you, my kids were not outside. My kids were in watching a movie with me. They had just gotten out of school. This was like last summer before school got canceled. And I told my fiance, he's like, I'm just going to come home and I'll tell him like you're grocery shopping or something. So he pulls in. I was like, you know what, whatever. I'll just talk to him, because I was beyond like them telling me how I have to raise my kids. Well, whatever. I answered the door. They were supposed to be closing out my case. So I answered the door. My fiance was here. I wasn't going to answer if he wasn't here. Like, he's banging on my bedroom window. Like, that was weird to me. So
Yeah.
I told my fiance, I'm like, whatever, if you're here, I'll answer. So he came here after work. I answered the door, and he told me, like, we're supposed to be closing out your case today, but now I have to go talk to my manager because your kids were out in the kitchen cooking food and you're sleeping. He goes, where was the baby? I said, baby was with me sleeping. So he goes, was he in a crib? And I said, no, he was beside me. He's like 9 months old. And he goes, well, that's a danger to your son. You could roll on him and kill him. I'm like, he's 9 months old. I'm not fully asleep. I'm sitting here watching TV, you know?
Yeah.
So he told me that I couldn't sleep with my children. I'm not allowed to take a nap if my kids are home. That's what he told me. Like, I can't sleep if my kids are home. I'm like, do you work? Like, are you a parent? Do you go home? Are you tired? I'm like, I work and I'm tired. So I took a nap while my kids were in school. They got off the bus. They ended up watching a movie. I told them to sit there and watch a movie. So anyways, he leaves. They never come back. So they sent me paperwork saying they closed out my case. And that was over me being a drug addict. So again, my clear drug test proved I wasn't a drug addict.
Have you ever been on drugs?
No.
I'm so sorry. Couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Were you ever in foster care as a child?
No.
No.
Nope.
Would it okay, and I'm out of breath. I apologize. So this happened out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, for 8 years, there's been phone calls, like, a lot. And
who did you
CPS,
say is making the phone calls that you think?
my daughter's father's mother. So my daughter's grandmother, because baby, my son has a different father. So the 3 girls is grandmother.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4.
Okay.
I have 3 girls and a boy.
How old are they?
My daughter goes 8. I have a daughter who's 7, a daughter who's 5, and a baby that's 1 year and 4 months.
Okay. And so the grandma is making these calls, and what is she saying? Oh, the house is dirty, and what else?
Yeah. Like she's literally called. She said my house is filthy, that she trashed while she helped her son move out. Well, when she helped her son move out, see, I had said at the beginning I had a miscarriage. Well, I can't say a miscarriage. She was stillborn at 30 weeks. So, I had her cremated. I had a memorial service. And when she was moving, like, my daughter's always been on top of my TV stand where I lived, and she's never been moved. Like, if I move, she goes in my diaper bag. She doesn't go in a box. I don't pack her up. Like, she's like my child. So, a week later, after he moved out, I had noticed she was missing, and I looked everywhere. Like, my daughter's urn was gone, and I looked everywhere, every possible place I could. I called the state police. Come to find out, she had taken her when she moved her son out, put her in a storage unit, and the police said that she would bring her back to me the next day. I flipped out. I was like, she's not bringing her back the next day. So I tried to, like, have her arrested for it, and they couldn't prove she intentionally took her. I said, well, if she's gone, then she intentionally took her. She tried to say she was in a diaper box with wipes and diapers. And I said, she's never been in a box. So, I mean, she's gotten in trouble for nothing that she should have gotten in trouble for in the entire 8 years she's called on me. So the last time she called CYS, like, it's been, my house is dirty. It's been, ever since I got with this man, 3 years ago it's been we're on drugs, because he has a history, but it was 5 years ago, and he's been through rehab. He's been clean for 5 years. So he has the history, I don't. He's never spanked my children. He's never been mean to my children. Like, we both made them sit in timeout, but they're not going to be disrespectful either, you know. They're going to be respectful of their elders, of other people. They're not going to break things. They're not going to do things that would put them in harm's way without a sitting or a punishment, you know.
Right.
Like their tablets taken away, whatever. My kids don't get spanked. Well, they had went down there, and Kaylin is clumsy. Whoops, I said a name. I'm sorry. My daughter is clumsy.
You have them back, right?
I do.
Then that's okay. As long as you have them, that's okay, because they're yours.
Okay.
It's if they are, you know, in foster care or living with somebody else, we want to protect them.
Yeah.
And you.
Yeah, no, they're here. But so my oldest is clumsy. Like, she can't chew bubblegum and walk. I'm serious. If she runs, like, we tell her, don't run, you're gonna fall, and every time she does. So she had fell outside, and she had like a bruise on the back of her leg, and that was because she fell outside and like hit the side of the grill where the propane tank was. I remember it like it was yesterday. Their grandma called. They wanted her to come for their birthday. She was taking all 3 of them. I let them go. I told that story, came back. They came back. I went and got them. 2 days later, I had, I'd messaged her the night they came home. 2 days later, the state police pull in, and they're like, I could tell it was a state trooper.
Yeah.
That they had an unmarked car, and there was a car behind them. And mind you, she's called, and it's been false every time. Well, they pull in the driveway, and like, I knew what was going on, but I didn't. Like, I seen CYS, and I knew who they were. And I had the baby. Like, we were in the garage. The baby was in the pack and play outside. The girls were inside playing. I had grabbed the baby to walk outside to see who was there. Well, the girl's grandmother had called and said that my kids were abused and neglected, which she's done multiple times. Like, she's called and said they were abused before.
How many times, when, I apologize for interrupting,
You're okay.
How many times when she calls do they come and check on you?
Every time.
When they find what she has said is a lie, do they, like, does she get in trouble or anything?
No, she's never been in trouble.
Pen, please.
This time they came, and I started crying because
Hold on your phone.
Okay, so like, they had pulled in. I seen the state trooper. My brother-in-law's a state trooper, so I know what they look like. I had started crying because I kind of felt like I knew what was going on, because Children and Youth has never came to my house with the state police. And the first thing I had said to them was, like, you're not taking my kids. The state troopers looked at me and said, that's not what we're here for. And I said, okay, so what are you here for if you're here with Children and Youth? And they said they had gotten a phone call through Childline and through, like, the Children and Youth. So it must have been through, like, Children and Youth. They called state police. I'm not sure. I've never have went through this before. So they were out here talking to us. They had said that the only thing they could tell us was that my fiance and I were perpetrators of our children. That they had received a phone call, and then CYS came up to talk to us. And the guy, of course, they had their masks on because of COVID, and the guy, CYS worker, had looked at my fiance and said, there's been a report of abuse and neglect, and they had to safety clean the children. So he smiled at my fiance, and my fiance told him he was going to knock his fucking head off, and that he needed to go back and sit in his car before he got pissed off. Because he's coming here saying he's going to take our kids while he's laughing. Not very funny.
This is a
not funny.
social worker or police?
The social worker. So,
And what was his reason for taking them, wanting to take them?
because they had received a phone call of abuse and neglect. That was his reason. So they weren't taking my kids. They said they were safety planning them. If I didn't agree to place them with family, they would be in foster care. I wasn't letting them go anywhere. I told them that they were going to kill me before they took my kids. I've never lost my kids a day in my life, no matter what. Like, she's called children and youth on me multiple times, and I've never, ever lost my children. Never came close. I've always let them in. My kids have never had bruises, never unexplained. Their medical records are up to date, everything. So I was talking to the state trooper. My sister's married to one. So my sister called the state trooper and said, I will come get them. Don't let them go to foster care. So the cop was talking to my fiance and I, and they were here for a while. I told this CYS worker that my kids weren't going anywhere, and the baby really wasn't, like, my fiance wasn't letting my baby go nowhere. So that's ours together. So finally they had said, like, I'm going to call my boss. We're going to have, come here, buddy. We're going to have them place your children. And he said, you still have custody of your children. We don't have them. So I agreed to have my sister come get my kids. It was better than foster care because I've heard nothing but horror stories about foster care.
Sorry, did you say that they did have a warrant or did not?
They didn't. Like, that. I don't believe that they did. They never showed me anything. Like, they came there and they said, we have to safety plan the kids. I had to sign a safety plan. My fiance had to sign the safety plan. Well, when my sister came, she had her husband come. He was on duty at the time. To make sure they weren't trying nothing stupid. Well, she went and signed a temporary custody order from children and youth between them two. Like, if I still had custody of my kids, I thought I would have signed my custody over to her. I never signed a paper for custody or nothing. Like, she went to their car. They sat in their car the whole time. The cops were mediators because my fiance was going to knock the guy's head off because he kept smiling and laughing like it's not funny, it's not a joke. Well, my fiance said the baby's not going anywhere. So I agreed to let my girls go. And
with your
my sister came. Yep, my sister came and got them. Okay, so my sister had showed up to get my kids. They had told me that it was about all my kids, that it was the baby, the girls. They knew my fiance wasn't budging. So he said, the social worker said, he contacted his boss. And because the accusations weren't about the baby could stay. So they let the baby stay, and my sister took my 3 girls. But mind you, when we went through this, it was 3 days long. They told me they would get the CAC, which is like the Children's Advocate interview, where they go talk to people to see if something happened, set up for the next day, so I wouldn't have to be without my kids. So I'm like, my daughter has a phone. I was talking to my daughter the whole time about all my kids. I called every night, and Thursday night come around, so they were gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Thursday night came, my sister said, I hate to tell you, but you're not allowed to have contact with your kids no more because you can influence their interview. So, mind you, I'm talking to my kids 2 nights now. Now I can't talk to my kids. Well, it's not my sister's fault. It's what they had said. Right. They said they told me I couldn't contact my kids, but they never did. So I told Kaylin, like, look, Mommy can't call you tonight. I told her I was busy and to call me in the morning or something after her interview. So my kids are crying, like, when the cops took them. They didn't want to be outside. They wanted to go back inside. They knew who it was, you know. She's done it their whole life. So Friday comes, they have their interview. Children and youth contact me and said that they didn't review anything that was stating they were in harm or any abuse was present, that they didn't disclose anything that was like warranted for them to be taken longer. so I could have my kids back. So they were gone 3 days, but literally felt like a year. So they told me before they took my kids that day that if this is false and unfounded, we will press charges for false statements. So I'm like, okay, well then let's get the paperwork going because it's not true. And they told me that when Friday come around, it was May, so I've been trying to get somebody to do something ever since, and I've never gotten anywhere. So my kid came back Friday. They've been back ever since beginning of May.
So how long were they gone?
3 days. But my kids didn't understand. You know, they were upset. I told them they were going to stay with my sister for a couple of days and that they would be back. So if they would have disclosed something, they would have never stayed at my sister's any longer. I didn't know that when I let them go. So they came back. They were here Monday. Well, I had talked to the girl Friday. She told me my kids could come home. So that Friday they came home. I said, now what about her charges? You guys told me that this is all false. It's not true. They said they were looking into it. I literally just got a reply from them last week. Like I've been trying to take care of a lot of stuff. Ever since this, she couldn't get my kids taken away. They came back home. She called 2 weeks later and said that I went to jail and that my fiance didn't have the means necessary to raise my kids if I were to be taken to jail or something happened to me. So they came back out. These are two different caseworkers. These are the caseworkers that I talk to all the time and that I will talk to, but I won't talk to the other. These are not the two that took my kids. And I said I wasn't coming outside. My fiance was in the garage. So he came. I texted my fiance, said CYS was here. He came outside and told them, like, you're not welcome here. You can get out of my driveway. And he's like, well, what's going on? And my fiance said, well, you just took our kids. Like, we're not talking to you about anything else anymore. And they had no idea my kids were ever taken. They didn't have a clue that my kids were gone, my kids were taken. They asked me why, everything. Like, they had no idea. So I talked to them. They closed out my case that day. They said that it was nonsense calls again. And since then, so since middle of May, there's been no phone calls yet. But I assume she's got the hint, like, my kids aren't going to be taken away. And now she's on to calling the state police. She called the state police June. We left on vacation after all this happened. We went to New Jersey. We went away, stayed in a suite, you know, so the kids, like, had this big hotel room to get them away from here and to have fun before they went back to school. So it was June 11th we left for vacation. And June 10th, she called the state police and said my fiance ran her off the road head on. Now he's facing 15 charges. They offered him 1 to 2 years in state prison. And mind you, we went to Walmart. We seen her there in July. She called the police and had them escort her out. She was scared for her life after my fiance allegedly ran her off the road, which is false. The state trooper took the notes down. We got paperwork after we got home from vacation that he was being charged with all these charges. And I called the cop, and she talked to me, and she said, look, I don't mean to be rude, but this is none of your business. It has nothing to do with you. It's your fiance. And he went to his preliminary hearing, and they said that she didn't come talk to him because she didn't want to be lied to. So we didn't get questioned about the incident at all. It was just the charges weren't on, and he went to his preliminary, and now we have to fight it. So they gave him 12 charges, and when he went to his preliminary, they added 3 counts of simple assault on there. It's literally been so rough. Like, I feel like she's trying to get him taken away, so then it's just me fighting for my kids, and I don't have, like, his support. that he'll be going to state prison, so I'll be wore down with the kids and I won't be able to like fight back. So I think she's planning something bigger. Yeah. Obviously, I don't know what it would be right now. It's been rough. Like CYS has literally been hell. Like they're always here all the time.
I'm sure. And
I've just done nothing but try to let her have a relationship with her grandkids. And like she's even asked for my son to come down there because it's their brother. But my girls tell me every time they come back that their grandma had said that he's not their real brother. You have to have both of the same parents for him to be your real brother, which you don't. You have to have one parent, you know. It's common sense, but that's what she tells them is that they have to have the same parent. So when the girls had gotten taken away, I got paperwork, but they never sent me the paperwork before they came and got my kids. Like normally they'll send you a letter and say like that there's been a report against your children, and then you have to call them, set up a meeting, and they'll come out. Like that's how it's always been for me because it's been nuisance calls. I got 75 pieces of paper from one of her phone calls that took my kids away. And it said that it had my son in there, the one that they let me keep because he wasn't on my paperwork, that my fiance and I were perpetrators against my 1-year-old son. So I don't understand why they let him stay when he was on the paperwork, but they took my girl.
Have you thought of suing for slander?
I have, like, I've talked to a lawyer, and they told me that children and youth has to be the one to press, like, the false statement charges. And as far as talking to the police, I get nowhere. Like, I had tried to get a PSA on her just, like, a little bit ago. I went there for a PSA, and they had told me I don't qualify for one. So I went and I told her, like, it was an attorney, local, that was talking to me, and she had said, I can tell in your voice, like, you don't know where to turn. You don't feel like you have anywhere to go.
Right.
And I said, I can't get help from authorities, children and youth. I signed paperwork so I could get all of my CYS records, and I still haven't got them yet. I wanted them for his court hearing so I could prove, like, she's been harassing me. And, like, our harassment here is with the intent to alarm and annoy somebody. Like, you don't even have to slap somebody. You can text somebody. You can show up to somebody where you're not wanted. Or, like, ever since this incident, she's drove by my house every day, beeped her horn, waved, like, hung out the window waving. She did it today. But she's definitely afraid of my fiance. She's instigating. So I called the police today, honestly, and I said, look, this is what's going on. He got real snotty with me, and he said, look, there's nothing I can do. It's not harassment. I said, okay, thank you. I'll handle it myself then. And I hung up the phone.
That's not harassment?
No, it's not, because unless she comes on my property, there's nothing I can do. So, I mean, it's pretty bad when you pull out of your driveway and you have to record on your phone your whole trip because she's ahead of us. And she will call the state police and say something happened that didn't happen. So then I have it on video that I was behind her the whole time and nothing happened. And my kids hate her. Like, my kids were in the pool swimming the day she went by and beat the horn and said my fiance ran her off the road. Like, we were cooking out. The truck was getting ball joints put on. Like, the truck wasn't drivable. That she said ran her off the road head on. But mind you, she just went by and beat. My kids were in the swimming pool. We were outside by the grill. He was underneath the truck. And the girls ran to me and said Grandma Lori went by. Like, they're definitely afraid of her because like, they don't understand. Like, they got taken away because of her, and they know that. So they're scared to death that the cops are going to come get her.
Right.
So every time the cops pull in here, they get scared. Like, they won't come outside. And I don't want them to feel that way about the state police, but they did come take them away from their mom.
They're not doing what they're supposed to do to protect them.
No. See, now, mind you, they say it's not like I can't get a PSA. I used to live with her. Like was my ex-husband's mother, and we used to live with her when I was pregnant for my first daughter that I lost. I had these charges. It was for falsifying information to authorities. It was because she had threatened me that if I put her son in jail, I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have this. I was 18 years old pregnant. I didn't have no place to really go. That's where I was living. So I took the charge to lie and say that it didn't happen. So I had a place to live. So it's been the whole time like nonsense. And like CYS will tell you it's nonsense calls all the time. But they don't do anything about it. They're supposed to be the ones that press the charges or go after the person. So when I contacted the state trooper that was here, I had told them, like, look, you guys said you'd press charges. That's my youngest daughter. That's Olivia. So that when they were supposed to press charges on her, and the cop said, look, we followed up with her, and she had told us that the girls told her they were being abused. So we can't prove that they did. I said, well, if they told strangers that they weren't being abused at a CAC interview, then they're not being abused. So I wouldn't take her word for something if she's making all these false phone calls. Obviously, she's a liar. So how can somebody believe anything that she's saying? Yeah. So I mean, that's my story. It's been hard. Like it's been crazy. I haven't talked to her since April. Well, the end of April, beginning of May, when I questioned her about it, and I've messaged her. Yeah. I messaged her and I told her after she blew the horn, like I've documented it. There's 37 beats in 2 weeks. 37.
Do you have an attorney?
I don't. Like I mean, he has an attorney for his case, but I don't have an attorney for like none of my CYS stuff. Call
on our radio show Saturday. Minimize your story to a couple things and talk to my attorney, and let's see what we can do.
It's been so hard. Like 3 days felt like a year to me. And had my like newest son been taken, I don't think my fiance would have ever let that happen. But I mean, we fought for all of our children. Don't get me wrong. But
where's the dad of the girls?
Well, right now he's on the run because he got a phone call that they arrested him for 2 drug sales, and he's running from the state police in Pennsylvania right now. Mind you, before my girls got taken, she called me because her son was hallucinating, and my girls were present, and she needed me to come get them, and she needed me to help her son do this and that. So I've always been at a phone call for her, and she's stabbed me in the back. That's full foil for today. So, I mean, I've always helped her, and she's, like, talked to my fiance like he's her best friend ever since her son and I haven't been together. But now, when she went to the preliminary for his charges, she had told them that the pastor had a tattoo on his hand. The only person here that day that has the tattoo on their hand is my fiance. So if the passenger has a tattoo on their hand, that puts my fiance in the passenger seat. That's the driver's seat. You know what I'm saying? Like, her story doesn't even collaborate. He's driving, but the pastor has a tattoo on his hand. She only says that because she knows his tattoos. Obviously, a hand tattoo is pretty rememberable. Like, if I seen somebody with hand tattoo, I'd be able to tell you she has hand tattoo. Like, I don't know you from Adam, but I could say the person who hit me has a tattoo on their arm. Like, and if I say you, they're going to be like, oh, well, yes, you have a tattoo on your arm. It doesn't even matter who you are around here. And I'm not saying nothing bad about the police. My brother-in-law is a state trooper, and I would never, do anything to harm the state police. I envy their job. I wouldn't want to do it. Honestly, I want their job. But when it comes to like needing help, I'm shit for getting any help. But my brother-in-law does say, like, I messaged him, I was talking to him about it, and he had even told me, like, it's bullshit. You wouldn't have got your kids back in 3 days if they were being abused. And he even thinks, like, there's something going on, there's something wrong, that she's a liar. Like, he even said she's a liar, but it's him against how many other state troopers up there, or him against his boss. Oh, thank you, Chef. Sure. You know, it's not, did you put some on your toe? So, I don't know. It's so hard. Because it's just waiting for the next phone call, you know? Like, the next CY to come here. And if she can get taken away by lying, what else can she do? You know? She thinks she's going to get them. That's what she thinks, is they're going to go to her. But
one of the people that is watching said that their mother-in-law had their rights terminated because of lying. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm scared of. And I don't even put my kids back in public school. Like, I've got my kids homeschooled. Like, then they're the closest to me, and I don't have to go through 1,000 people to get to the school to get my kids. You know what I mean? Like, they're here.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know my story, but my mom was the one who had my kids taken away, and she got them.
Yeah, see, that's crazy. And that's, like, what I'm scared of. Like, I don't know what state you're in, but Pennsylvania is, like, they know. When they come here and they're like, oh, another nuisance call, and they sit here and they visit more than they investigate my kids, but all they do is take a picture of my kids and then talk because they know it's bullshit. And my ex-mother-in-law is a nutcase. Like, she really is. She has foster children that she drugged the foster daughter to her bedroom by her hair. She got them taken away because she brainwashed those kids and threatened them to say that their foster father, who's had them since they were babies, molested them. He lost his foster kids, and she got them. She buys them cigarettes, lets them do drugs underage, but nothing happens to her. Nothing. And I've turned her in once for child abuse. And when her and her husband split up, she had them call me and say, they were like, so you can be a character witness for her name, your ex-mother-in-law. And I was like, yeah, I sure can. I said, she beats the shit out of those kids. And they never called me back. And she called me and said, that's really what you told them? I said, I'm not going to lie about what I see. If I can give those kids a better home, I will. Like, you beat the crap out of your foster.
She's a foster mom, does this stuff, allows this stuff, and try and take your kids away.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep, she does. It's literally heartbreaking. Like, the day I came inside.
Just wants a paycheck.
I know. Well, see, she gets money for those kids. The foster daughter that she has turned 18 and flew the coop. She don't even have contact with her because she beat the crap out of her. Like, I've never seen that girl's feet touch the floor the whole way to her bedroom when she picked her up by her hair. She ripped chunks of her hair out, and then when she went to court, she said it was from dyeing her hair.
You watched this happen?
Yeah, and I've turned her in, and they never did anything to her. Yeah. Yep. But she wants my kids. Like, I would never sleep at night if she got my kids. And I would probably go down there and break in her house and steal my kids back. Just because I know how bad she was to the foster kids. Hey, Olivia, no, please.
So,
I mean, it's crazy.
This is
CPS is like cricket is all get out. I'm telling you. I don't understand it.
Call a radio show on Saturday.
Okay.
I'm so sorry for what you're going through.
I have my kids back, so I'm very thankful, and I enjoy the time that I have with them. Will you please take that from him? Don't give it back to me. Here. You can't throw that in there. That's loud. But it's like, when is the next phone call coming? It's too quiet. It's definitely too quiet. Like, she don't normally stop, so, like today, the girls were outside, and I was just coming outside to put our pool away. We had gotten a 15-foot pool, so we took the other one down. And she went by smoking a cigarette, covering her face, waving at my kids, beeping the horn. And I'm like, I don't know that's your car. I don't know that's you. And I've messaged her, and I've told her to stop beeping at my house, leave us alone. Like, you're not as afraid as you say you are if you're beeping the horn. Like, you're instigating somebody. If somebody ran you off the road or came at you head on, I wouldn't even look at their house. I would, like, close my eyes till I got past their house if I was that scared of somebody. But she's an instigator. And I've told my fiance when I got my kids back, I was going to knock her head off. And I meant it. I didn't care where I was. I didn't care who saw me. I don't care about any of it. Don't mess with my children. But now he's got these charges on him. So if I go attack her, it doesn't look very good. So, now he's got these charges, 15 of them, and his gravity scores refell. So he goes, for something you'd go for 3 months, he goes for years. So right now we are fighting that. So I really can't do nothing, but I reach out every time, like I document it. And today I was like, okay, enough's enough. Like, when is she going to stop and snatch my kids out of the yard? It's gotten to that point. And they told me every time it's not harassment, there's nothing I can do. So I just told them today, like, fine, I'll handle it myself. But if I message her, I get harassment charges when I've asked her to stop. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking into harassment charges.
Wow.
I mean, my kids were gone for 3 days. I couldn't imagine somebody's gone for 2 years. But I feel like if they've already been gone 3 days, the next one is going to be a little more versus a little more. She's already tried to, like, ask my kids if they've been sexually assaulted by my fiance. Like, he's not like that. He's been in prison with child molesters. He can't stand child molesters. So
No.
I can guarantee you he's not going to do something like that. And he never would.
Yeah.
But I'm just waiting to be like one of you guys that have lost your kids for 2 years, and I've got to sit here and, like, nobody helps me. Like, the authorities don't seem to give a shit. Like, I've tried to get help. I've reached out for help. I went to a way out here, which is for domestic violence.
That cut out really bad. I don't know what you said.
Right. I said I've reached out for help. Like, every time something happens, I document it, and I will contact who I feel is necessary. I mean, I've reached out for help multiple times, and it's like nothing happened. I signed waivers to get my children and youth documents from children and youth, and I have yet to get them back. So I have them for court so I can prove that she's harassed me nonstop. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, like, one day I texted her, it was years ago, and she was texting me at the same time, telling me to not text her. Ours got sent at literally the same time and arrived at the same time. Like, I got hers when she got mine. And they charged me with harassment because I texted after hers came in on my phone. But they won't do anything when she literally alarms and annoys. You know what I mean? Like, they take kids out of a good home where they've never been abused or never, like, they have everything and anything they could ask for to put them somewhere else when they wouldn't have half of that stuff. So it's just, it's hard, and I just wonder when the next thing is coming. Because I know it don't stop here. It definitely doesn't stop here. But
Well, I hope that we can help. I'm really sorry.
yeah, it's better to have them than not have them, but it makes you wonder, like, when will you not have them? But I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to be praying for you.
Thank you.
Well, give me an update, and I'll talk to you on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
Bye.